Hi and welcome to You Wellbeing. I'm Sarah Marshall and I'm here with my colleague Ashley Meyer. Hi Ashley.
Hi Sarah.
Hi. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Ashley's experience around ME and chronic fatigue syndrome. So Ashley, I know that we've known each other for quite a long time now.
It is quite a while, Sarah.
Yeah, in fact we met when we were both training. I know that you were a little bit further on in your training than I was when we first met. Now obviously I came into this field because I'd had personal experience of ME. But I know that you came into your training for different reasons. So I think it'd be quite interesting just to share a little bit about why you decided to train as a practitioner to begin with.
Okay. So I decided to train as a practitioner in my mid-30s. I'd been working in the field of corporate events. I'd been doing that for sort of quite a number of years. And at a certain point I decided something I really wanted to do was to become self-employed. So I quit my job and I set up on my own. Very exciting time, a very scary time, being a family person with two young kids. It felt like a very, very big step.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how you can look back at life events in hindsight and sort of see how it all came together.
Yeah.
But I think that what I went through in those sort of 3 years of sort of setting up on my own had a considerable impact on me emotionally. And that led me into sort of working on my own process.
Right.
And as I was working on my own process, I started to look at different things that I could start getting involved in professionally. And I started to realize that what I really wanted to do was I wanted to help people on a more real level, if you like, rather than what I was doing, which was, in a way, sort of working with people's expectations. But I just sort of felt that it wasn't making a difference in the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah. So you came to training because you wanted to make a difference, but it wasn't primarily within the field of ME or chronic fatigue.
No, it wasn't.
So how did things lead into you working in this specific area? Because it's not an area that most practitioners decide to train and go straight into unless they've had personal experience.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
So, how did that come about? Well, on the practitioner course that I was doing, which was mainly focused on NLP, I met someone who, again, was in final stages of recovery from ME. And when he went on, after qualification, he went on to start working in the field. And we got talking, and he asked me to come in and do some work with him.
Yeah.
And that was my first entry into the field.
Okay. So how did you find it? Because obviously we know from experience that ME, although there's a clear process that we see, it's obviously a complex condition. I obviously had a little bit of experience, my personal experience. So I had some idea of the different factors that come into play. But how was it for you coming into this, working in this field, with not having previous experience?
I would say overall it was really fascinating. It became very clear to me very soon on that there was a huge amount of controversy in the field. And that people that were working more in a mind-body way were very much advocating how mind affects body and trying to sort of work on it from that perspective. But certainly still a lot of controversy about it. So I think that I was aware of the controversy, and the whole area in some sense seemed quite mind-boggling to me, because there wasn't sort of a clear path. There wasn't a clear path on how to work with it. There wasn't even agreement in what caused the illnesses in the first place. So quite mind-boggling, but then I soon realized that wasn't just me. That there was, everyone was still sort of trying to figure out what exactly sort of what was going on here, and how we could work with it.
Okay, so how did you then start to recognise and realise the different factors that were coming in? Because I know, obviously, I came in and I was reflecting on my own experience, but I'm guessing you were coming in with no preconceived ideas. Did you find that quite helpful?
In a way, I did find it very, very helpful. I was clearly aware that it was a condition that was having very much a physical manifestation. But then when we actually sort of started to work and look into sort of people's backgrounds and stories, it was very clear to sort of start putting different pieces together. What were the different factors that were contributing to making them unwell? And when you looked at those different factors, even though sort of a number of them were physical in nature, it was very clear that a number of them were behavioural and emotional factors as well.
Yeah.
And I think that not having sort of come from the condition myself, it was, I maybe sort of could come in sort of with fresh eyes, and start looking how to sort of make an impact on those factors from a professional level rather than from a personal experience level.
And I think that's what makes us a really strong team, that you come in with fresh eyes, although you've got a similar background as a very busy corporate career and remained healthy where I didn't. I think combining my personal experience, your professional experience, and having very different backgrounds is quite a powerful combination.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's really interesting looking at both our stories, because I was also quite a driven person, working in a very busy environment, and yet I held on to good health. And so it was very interesting to sort of see, I think in some senses my life was out of balance as well. But I think in the case of ME and chronic fatigue syndrome, it goes just one step further, that then sort of pushes the body into sort of this condition.
Now, I know you very well, Ashley. We've known each other for a very long time. And I know more about your personal story as well. And I know that you subsequently had some experience of ME chronic fatigue, although not in the same way as myself. Would you be happy to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Sarah. So, as you know, my older daughter became unwell on a couple of occasions with fatigue-related conditions. And the first experience was in her GCSE year, where she was unable to get out of bed for 3 months.
That must have been very tough as a parent to see.
Yeah, it was. It was very, very tough experience as a parent. I think by that time it was I'd probably been working in the field for a good couple of years. So I had a sense of what was going on. But I think sort of as a parent who's emotionally involved, it's quite difficult to see all the factors.
So how helpful did you find being a professional in this field before you had that experience with your daughter? Did you find it helpful, or as you said, were you more in the position of a parent who was quite obviously not scared for the child, but you could see what their child was going through and feeling for them?
On one level it was very helpful. On another level I had sort of seen too much, and I knew too much, and so it was actually very scary. That episode lasted at least 3 months, maybe more, until she sort of really came out of it. And then a couple of years later, there was another episode, and I can clearly sort of see the difference in me and my response between the first episode and the second episode. And so literally, I think in the first episode, I literally broke down. I found it very, very difficult.
So you said there was a difference between the two episodes, and I can really understand how you must have felt the first time round. So how was the second time round different?
I think that the first episode I was in denial about it, and I was in a place of lack of acceptance. I just really wanted to get her through it as much as I possibly could.
So very much like the person who has ME then, I guess.
Yeah. And the difference being is that as a parent looking in on it, I was hopeful that I could somehow sort of pull her through. But the more I tried to sort of pull her through, the more she resisted what I was sort of trying to do for her. So it was, in a way, it was quite a desperate time. Where the second time, I think I was more aware of the different factors that were at play, and I realised that this was something that she was going to have to work through, and I was much more accepting of it, and I realised that there were sort of key things that I could do to help the situation, and they weren't the same things that I'd thought on the first time around.
Right. So what do you think helped you make that switch the second time around, just to be more accepting? Is there anything that comes to mind, Ashley? Yeah,
I mean, I think that the second time round was really about that I just needed to keep a space of calm around it, and just accept and give it the time it needed to play itself out.
Right, okay. And that's really good advice for people who have ME, as well as the people who are caring for ME. And I seem to think, well, I know that we both think that each position has its own challenges.
Absolutely.
And it isn't just about the person who's ill, it's the person who is around them, the impact it has on the whole kind of family or the support network as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that, Ashley.
Thank you, Sarah.
And I hope that gave you some really good information about the different things you can do if you are someone who is caring or is close to someone with ME, as well as those of you who do have ME. For more information, then please do look at our website, and it's www.uwellbeing.com. And thank you. Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.